And I had non-dual experiences as a child that I never really spoke about, where there would be a moment where I'm in a room and first it'll feel like I'm in a movie, like everything's 2D. And then it was like I wasn't in the room anymore. I don't know if it felt like it was like a virtual reality thing, but that was before virtual reality and I wasn't in the room. And I'm looking around and I'm like, what's going on? So those were just the little flavors of since I
Hmm.
was a child. And there's a lot of empathy. I could feel people's pain. Like if
Hmm.
I could, in my body, I could feel the suffering of others.
Raven Rise, welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much for having me, Angelo. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
I'm glad you're here. People who watch this may remember you actually co-facilitated a double-barrel non-duality with me at some point in the past. And we had intended to have an interview, but sometimes I get out of phase on these things. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited to see what comes up. But ultimately, as always, we're interested in just kind of highlighting the awakening aspects of your experience. But maybe start with just tell us a little bit about yourself, wherever you want to start, whatever feels relevant. Just give us maybe a little bit of background.
Absolutely. So the self story isn't as solidified as the story that we tell. There are certain points I think in the awakening story that I think would be helpful to share. The earliest memory was this feeling of not belonging, that something was wrong. And my mother even told me this is as a 3-year-old, I would be, saying, I want to go home. I want to
Wow.
go home. And she's like, well, you are home. And no, 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 this is not, like, there was just something, no, this isn't my home. And so, and I had non-dual experiences as a child that I never really spoke about, where there would be a moment where I'm in a room and first it'll feel like I'm in a movie, like everything's 2D. And then it was like I wasn't in the room anymore. I don't know if it felt like it was like a virtual reality thing, but I that was before virtual reality and I wasn't in the room. And I'm looking around and I'm like, what's going on? So those were just the little flavors of since I
Hmm.
was a child. And there's a lot of empathy. I could feel people's pain. Like if
Hmm.
I could, in my body, I could feel the suffering of others. And I think that's where it started. The
Hmm.
the searching for something, the answers, because I didn't feel like I belonged here. I felt like I was an alien in this.
Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that. And did you ever try to like relate those experiences to people, specifically the non-dual stuff? Like, did it cross your mind to try to tell your mom or dad about it or anything?
The non-dual definitely not because I didn't have even as a child like it's like I was 6, 7, 8, 10 years old and the non-dual occurred my entire life. I didn't know how to express it.
Hmm.
There is the kind of weird feeling of deja vu. So it's not that, but how do you describe deja vu to somebody that doesn't have it? It's just this not solidification of the reality. How I didn't describe it, but the I want to go home, that feeling was just prevalent throughout my whole life. And I noticed that I wasn't able to express that to my parents. So then I just kind of thought, okay, I think the rest of this stuff is a little bit too unapproachable to talk
Hmm.
about.
Yeah.
And and that longing, that the feeling of suffering of others, so that got me to search. I wanted to be happy. I didn't know how to be happy. I saw other people. I could feel other people suffering, but I wasn't able to tap into happiness. And so then it started. I looked for a solution, right? So I started meditating as a prescription for happiness, right? That
Hmm.
was like, it was a goal.
Hmm.
And I looked at astrology to look for meaning and what I was searching, searching, searching. And the meditation, I think, was the start of it. The really slowing things down. And but I think as most people have with meditation, and this is before the internet, I'm reading books, and I was in my mind, I was doing it wrong, right? Because
Mm,
you're supposed to control the monkey mind. That's what
mm,
meditation is, right? You sit down and you're instantly calm and you're quiet,
right.
and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong. So that, but that was good, right? The frustration creates that tension, and that tension keeps us hungry for whatever it is that's on this path. And
That's a
and
really,
as
I was gonna say, that's a really good point that the, yeah, it's very common, even if you're taught otherwise to meditate, not with a goal in mind or not to calm the mind. It's still, the intention is still sneaking in there most of the time or often at first. And not recognizing that the tension that arises from that is actually good when it comes to awakening is really a big miss. I mean, there's literature out there and there are people out there who are vocal now about meditation being kind of harmful, right? It causes like disturbances in sleep and breakthroughs of anxiety and things like that. To me, it's like that's just a misinterpretation of the fact that it does show you the tension points and brings you more to the precipice. But anyway, I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted
That's
to
right.
point out the
Yeah,
importance of what
no,
you said.
no, that's exactly it. Because there's so much when the idea of being in the matrix and that sort of thing, there's so much zombie-like um, movement of thought and action. It's just it's you're it to me it felt like it's just living the same day, the same thoughts, the same feelings over and over again. And there needs to be a disruptor. And the meditation was great at that. The tension was great at that. The frustration was great at it because it was a disruptor of how I was thinking and how I was experiencing. So it's beautiful. Like the the pain and the frustration were great because they were great teachers to show me
Hmm.
where to look.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then I stumbled across Adyashanti's book about natural meditation, and that just blew everything open. The acceptance of what is, not resisting thoughts during meditation, it was unheard of to me. I didn't realize that that was even an option. Like
Hmm.
I don't, the thoughts are not a problem, like unto themselves. That was revolutionary. The fact that I don't have to have an opinion about everything.
Hmm.
That was just incredible to me. Is I don't
Hmm.
have to have an opinion. Like I don't need to weigh
Hmm.
in.
Yeah. And
Things
specifically
can
about the
just be.
meditation process, right? Like
Yeah.
that's something I try to point out
Yeah.
frequently is that there's this judge that sneaks into things so seamlessly, not realizing, oh, I don't have to do that either.
That's right. Yeah. Like I can just rest here in what's happening. And so that was revolutionary. And so Adyashanti was the main kind of thread through all my main awakening path. And but awakening was never in my vocabulary. So I still had the mental block that awakening was for monks. And even then, if you meditated your whole life, there's no guarantee that you would awaken. It wasn't, I wasn't looking for awakening. I was looking for, actually, I don't know at that point what I was really looking for, but I think you've mentioned it many times, and Adyashanti has mentioned it many times too, of how when we're going through life, it just feels like a big no. Like just everything's just no. And when feelings come to me, they come in images. So the image I get is like of a toddler just stamping their foot. No, just no. And once I started reading Adyashanti and found your channel and I started watching videos, it was a complete shift in experience because it was things were lighting up and it was like, yes, yes, yeah. Like there's just something, the transmission was lighting up such yes that it started the snowball of momentum because and then I couldn't look away. I couldn't turn away. I couldn't put it down because it was just, I found the yes.
Hmm.
It just resonated so strongly, and that's how it started. And I felt like for my awakening journey, I felt like Adyashanti got me to the diving board, and my toes were hanging over the void, and you pushed me off. You pushed me off into the void, and it was beautiful.
It's my pleasure.
And it was yes, yeah. Your book is unlike anything that I've ever come across. Um, I think I told you the how I saw it as like awakening as like an IKEA chair, and like the difference of how I took in like Adyashanti's teachings, your teachings, and Eckhart's, and yours was just so it not only showed the pointings, but it also guided us when things weren't going right.
Mm,
And I found that that was for me, it wasn't the other books that I read weren't specific enough. They were showing how this is how it is when things are going well, but I'm like, but I'm stuck right here. What do I do? And yeah, your teaching showed all of those little sticking points, those humanness points, and like you said, it gets so subtle. There's moments where it gets like with the no self, with the no, there was this the feeling of no self or this experience of no self, and then there's this thin gossamer little kind of veil where the ego identified as no self. And it was so subtle, so sneaky.
mhm,
And then I looked and I looked, and then and the way that I could tell later on, like through investigation, was let's say something would happen, and then let's say there'd be like an instant reaction. Let's say if somebody said something that kind of offended me, or I was hurt, right? Then instantly the ego would come and would talk me out of it. Oh, but there's nobody here to be offended. There's nobody. And I'm
mm.
like, oh,
Sneaky.
that's the ego sneaky guy like coming in and like,
Mhm,
but then it's like, okay, slow it down. So then I started slowing it down. Things, that's how it helped me. Just slow everything down. Wait a minute. That happened, and then there was resistance. There was a feeling of hurt. Okay, let's look there. Feel that.
mhm.
Just slow everything down. And yeah.
Did you have a way of slowing things down? Like, did you have a method, like a relaxation method? Do you relax your body, take yourself out of distractions? Or what do you recommend for somebody who
Sure.
resonates with slow down, but they somehow don't know how to slow down?
Yeah, so for me, everything was very visual. Things are visual for me. So the way that it worked for me was prior to everything, life was like a movie reel going
Mm,
through. So there, and even though I identified with the fact that reality and the now and the way that Eckhart talks about the now, it's that one frame where light is coming through. And then I saw that light is awareness. That light is, and it's only now. The light's not in the film reel here or here. It's just this one frame, and that's all that exists. So I intellectually got that.
mm,
However, consciousness or the mind could still, from this place, glance over here, and had that feeling as if there was a past and there was a future. So I slowed it down and realized that I can't, if I think about the past, I'm not time traveling to the past. I'm still here in this one frame and I'm creating a thought right now, and it just happens to be in the context of the past. But that's a
mm,
brand new thought. And if I think about a thought about yesterday, and then one day later I think about the same thought about yesterday, I'm not repeating any thought. It's everything's a brand new thought.
mhm,
So I slowed that down to that one frame. And then I thought, okay, what if I cut that? Like visually imagine myself cutting that and letting that away and just sitting with that one frame. And then everything just stopped. And I sat with that one single film frame, and I slowed down the movie so much that it stopped. And I'm like, here, right now, what is there to manage? What is there to do? What is there to manage? There was nothing. And I just
Mm.
sat, and that was it.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
that's how I slowed it down. I slowed the movie down so much. And I visualized myself with my hand on a dial, a speed dial. Because when we're caught up in our head, everything's so fast and it feels like we're out here, right? Like, oh, I have to do this, to-do list. I have to do this and I have to in the future and whatever. And it's like, it's almost like we're living out here. Like we're
Mm.
not even, because everything's so fast. And I just imagined my hand slow down. And it's that one single film frame. And I
Beautiful.
stopped. Yeah. That's what worked for me, just the visualizing of that.
I'm sure people can follow along listening and feel that because it's, yeah, very precise. And I have similar experience and had similar experience with awakening for sure. Although I wouldn't necessarily describe it that way. It's exactly like that. It's just a willingness to look so precisely at what's happening right now and not be fooled exactly into going into this idea of the future and past and making it feel like there's a future and past, but rather seeing, oh, there's one thought right now. That's it. There's nothing more to regard. There's nothing more to see. And then there's not even a comment. There's nothing to even comment on. And there's nowhere to
That's
go and there's
right.
nothing to manage.
And there's this weird kind of not itchiness, but there's like this restlessness that happens because it feels like there's an inertia when we're on the spiritual path. It feels like there's this and then this and then this and then it stops. Like right there, like there's this stillness, there's this peace. And the way that it felt for me is like an Olympic athlete 1 or 2 days after the Olympics. So
Hmm.
you have 4 years worth, your entire life is the Olympics. You're training, you have no social life. That's it. It's all that you have. And then you win the gold medal and it's beautiful, right? So you have your awakening, it's beautiful, it's when, oh, whatever. And then 2 days later, now what?
Yeah, what are you gonna do with all that
I
energy?
what are you going to do with all that energy? Because there's so much creative energy. There's so much it's life. It's so beautiful. Like it's birth and it's life and it's every, what are you supposed to do with it? And it's always been felt like it was towards a goal. But now we're directing it inwards into experience but there isn't that bringing it in yet of experiencing it as a creative expression of creation. It's
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's intense for people. And the other thing about that is, especially early on after awakening, but before significant experience beyond awakening, that restlessness is often not even recognized as such, that there's these coping mechanisms that avoid it constantly. There's a more gross restlessness of distraction or of maybe sometimes even addiction, actually. People have had addiction kind of surface after awakening because there's that exactly that. There's that restless energy that's been directed in all these wild and crazy ways in life and then directed into like this massive one-pointed spiritual journey. And all of a sudden the energy's freed up, but the habits are still there, but they don't have a meaningful direction anymore.
That's right. And the coping mechanisms, if they hadn't, like you mentioned, like the shadow work, if they hadn't been, looked at, then they'll kick in.
Hmm.
And then you'll have like that, that kind of like selfing coming on because it's so habitual, the way that the mind thinks, like these thought patterns and behavior patterns that you don't even notice that you're doing it until
Hmm.
it comes after, like if you've worn a watch all for years and then one day you go to work and you're not wearing a watch and the whole
Hmm.
day you're doing this,
Yeah, exactly.
right? It's like, and like if you slow that down and somebody asked you, well, cognitively, why would you look at your empty wrist for the watch for the time? It's like, well, I didn't actually.
Mm.
I know I don't have a watch. Well, then why did you look at your, well, so when you slow it down, you realize the
Hmm.
absurdity of looking at your empty wrist for the time.
Yeah.
And I felt like these coping mechanisms are the same thing. They happen so instinctively, you don't even think about it, you just look. But when you slow it down, you see the pointlessness of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's the key right there because the habits are there. Like the tendencies can still be strong for a while. And the inquiry helps and seeing what's triggering you helps. All those things help. Also, what helps, which is necessary, which is can be frustrating, is seeing that you actually can't control the habits all the time. Like they have to kind of wind themselves down sometimes. So you'll see yourself doing things, knowing there's no point in doing it, and feeling the discomfort of doing it, and even the uncomfortable effects of doing it if it's like like an unhealthy habit or something. And yet you're like, damn, this just kind of has to wear itself out sometimes, and it is true. Yeah.
Yeah, it just has to and just like with the watch by by 5 p.m. you're not doing it anymore. Like
Hmm.
or it's not as often. It just you start to see the futility of it or it just softens after a while. But I
Hmm.
feel like there is a point where you kind of get stuck in there or it's just so habitual and slowing everything down and really microscopically noticing in the body, noticing the feelings. I found that that was more helpful to me than if there was a thought, but I would look, okay, I just got into my mind. What was the emotion that just occurred with that thought?
Hmm.
And I would say, what is it that I'm trying to avoid, or what was where's the resistance there? And I found that the answers were more in the body, and then that allowed and that allowed me to see the thought patterns and see the mechanisms that were happening, and then they started to soften because you start to like call yourself on your own BS after a
Hmm.
while,
Yeah.
or like a
Yeah.
thought will start coming. I'm like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not
Right.
true. It's so
And
funny.
it's not even true that like I have to pay attention to that. Like it
Yeah,
seems compelling. It's like that's not even true either. There's like no reason at all.
yeah. It's just it's not even noise. It's just happenings.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if there's a bird outside, it's a sound, right? Like I don't sit here and wonder
Hmm.
why the sound.
Hmm.
There's just sound.
Yeah.
And
And it's
and
also felt so much more intimately when it's just sound, right? Just sound, just sensation.
oh,
The intimacy is so full
completely.
that there is no need to wonder about it. It's no need to dissociate from it or map it or question it or put it in context of a self. It's like, oh, it's just so full on, right?
That's right. There's no experiencer. There's no it just is.
Hmm.
It's yeah, and then the going it seems almost exhausting or even just unnecessary to go back into mind and to try to label or add anything on to that
Hmm.
experience of sound.
Yeah. Hmm.
But it's always there. It's and it's funny how uh we don't we don't notice it, but all these like perceptual filters that were there before um they mask but it was always there.
Hmm. Oh, totally.
It was always there.
That's why
And
the restlessness ends up being like it's kind of the final thing you confront is that just energetic restlessness because that's all that's really happening. That's all that it's just distractions. It's like redirection of attention back and forth, back and forth. That's the only thing that really can make it seem like that non-dual, crystalline, beautiful, intimate experience is not available. It's always available. It's always here. It's not just available, it's
Mhm.
here. So it's like it's this rattling mind that is just a result of misinterpretation of restlessness. That restlessness actually you can go up into the mind about it, or you can just go into the sensations and realize like, oh, okay, I actually can feel this. I can feel this. Yeah, and from there, at least in my experience, from there, once you're clear on the sensations in the body, then the other sense fields become far easier to clarify the non-dual experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I found like the body sense was the first place that was the easiest to look at and to experience without commentary and without an opinion about it.
Mm.
And one thing that helped me as well is to not personify. So if there was a feeling like a what we considered what we label an uncomfortable emotion, I tried to experience it as a body sensation. And what helped me is to contrast that with a body sensation that I normally wouldn't personify with. So if you're like, if you're sitting down, you have your legs crossed, and then you uncross your legs and your foot's asleep, there's a tingling there, but it's just tingling, right? There's not a story. Why me? Why does this always happen to me? Like
Yeah.
it's not personal. The foot's
Yeah.
just tingling.
Yeah.
And then you take it off and eventually the blood flows and it stops. So I'm like, okay, what if I looked at anger? What if I looked at sadness as just my foot being asleep? It's just this tightness in the chest, or it's just my shoulders being tight. Like what would that feel like? It's like, oh, this isn't about me. It's not about anything. It's not about anyone. It's just a sensation. And then I took that outwards, and the sound wasn't about me. Because before, right, we're experiencing the world, everything's just bouncing off of us. How does this relate to me? How does this affect me? Do I like this sound? Is this a pleasant? And there isn't that bouncing anymore. Everything just existed without a referential point.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and so the foot being asleep and the sound of a bird singing didn't it wasn't experienced separately anymore.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
there wasn't even a point in even labeling like body sensation versus sound versus anything. Like, everything was just fluid and seamless.
Hmm. Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good distinction. The to just recognize in your own body, like, even mild pains and pain in your knee or whatever, it's like there's nothing personal about that. It doesn't trigger worry and doesn't trigger dissociation. It's just kind of there. It might, but it may not. And it's even neutral sensations. Well, there's no problem there. But then I feel this sensation in my chest. It's associated with all of this like drama, like, oh my God, every time I feel this, this happens and it reminds me of this. And like, what do I do about this? And then the feeling of I need to do something about it is so intrinsic
Yeah.
to all those thoughts. And you can look at it and go, but at the root, it's still a sensation, you know? And at some point that really dawns that like, oh, yeah, everything is patterns of sensation. Emotions, situations that seem to trigger us, all the things, they're just patterns of sensation. Even hunger, sexual attraction, like all these things are literally just patterns of sensation in the body that you can sit with and realize I don't have to respond or react to that. It's just there. It's fine.
That's right. And you start to see how they flow. Like it almost feels like I don't know, like a mist or something if an emotion comes and it just flows and it doesn't stick to anything. Like
Mm.
it just comes and it goes and there's the moment that it happens, it's already dying because the moment's ending. So there it's like trying to grab onto fog.
Mm.
There's nothing to hold on to.
Mm.
And then that allows one thing to flow into another and it allows the softening, but it's slowing it down and just noticing, just
Mm.
really noticing. And I think
Mm.
and noticing like if there's discomfort there and there's resistance. And that's beautiful because sometimes we'll be like, oh, but there's resistance, but I shouldn't be resisting because I'm on a spiritual path and I should be experiencing. So now there's resistance to resistance. So now we're
Yeah,
resisting that we resist the resistance. And so
yeah,
look at that.
exactly. That's really a good
Yeah.
point, and it's very common. Um, Implied in many questions, most, well, not most, maybe most, implied in a very good portion of questions I get from people, the implied thing there is, and there's a problem with it, And it's like,
That's right.
but is there? Like, really? I mean, all this stuff is happening. Yeah, I know the sensations are there and the thoughts are there, but like, where's the problem part? Other than this background belief that I need to do something about it.
That's right. Yeah. Like in the raw experience, like what is there to understand? What
Hmm.
is there to do? Like
Hmm.
there's this, like it is. It's not asking for your permission to be here.
Hmm.
What is there to understand?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just kind of just yeah, let go I had something really funny happen early on in the process because I was working with fear. I had a bunch of like phobias that I was working through. One of them is the dentist. I just since I was a little kid. So I used this and it actually helped me. So I was in the dentist and I did have to have like a filling done. So the initial experience was the sound. Initially, it felt like the sound was in my mouth and there was all the stories behind it, right? There's like somebody drilling in my tooth and the sound, even though I didn't feel pain, it sounds painful,
Hmm.
right? Okay, so I said, okay, I'm sitting here, I have nothing else to do. Okay, let me play a game. Let me play a mind game with myself. Let's see how this works. So then I took the sound that was in my mouth and then I moved it outside. And I said, what if this sound is not in my mouth? What if it's some guy working on the sidewalk outside? He's like chiseling at the sidewalk. What does that feel like? It was so surprising. It felt like the sound was out there.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, okay, it's out there. And then I'm like, okay, what if the sound isn't that guy? What if it's just sound? Like I closed my eyes and I imagined that there was no world, nothing was existing. It was just sound. And there was an experience of that.
Hmm.
And playing these little mind games with myself allowed me to soften these perceptual filters.
Hmm.
These assumptions that the sound is in my mouth and it's associated with a tooth. So I played with bringing it farther back, and then erasing all of these like assumptions about the world. And that's for me that's what really helped, like just playing these mind games, questioning assumptions about the world. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what fetters are, assumptions, you know? Perceptual filters
Hmm.
are assumptions. They're all assumptions. And whatever way works to start to question those, I think is great. And that's a pretty unique way, I think, to do that is to question the perceptual filter by just changing it and see like changing the interpretation and realizing like I can change that interpretation and the experience changes that dramatically. How real is that interpretation, right? The sound is still there, but it's the experience of it and the reaction to it is dramatically different suddenly. So the sound is not the problem, right? Obviously, it's the interpretation is where the money is. And so anything that helps you question that is great.
Yeah, that's right. It's and that same thing with thoughts too. Like when I was looking at thoughts, I would when I was trying to feel into what thoughts are made of or where the thoughts were, if I would think a thought and then I would think the opposite thought.
Hmm.
And then I would bring my attention from one to the other, especially if like one of the thoughts was like a sticky thought or let's say like a negative thought about myself.
Hmm.
And then I would think the opposite. Oh, but no, I'm really good at this thing. No, I'm really bad at this thing. And then I would just flip back and forth my attention to both of these thoughts. And I'm like, they're made out of the same thing.
Hmm.
Just like and then you think and then you think of a ridiculous thought. I'm the Queen of England. And then I think
Hmm.
of something and it's like the only difference is the the buy-in to it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're all made out of the same thing. Or
Hmm.
it's yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, two things came up. One is I always try to say this in different ways, but the presence of the thought, whatever it is, the substance of thought, whatever, even the story of thought or the narrative of thought, the presence of it itself, it kind of doesn't stand on its own. It sort of just disappears when you don't react to it somehow. This is not there. What makes it feel so solid is that we are kind of unconsciously reacting to it. And unconsciously is important. When you become conscious, like you're talking about, like conscious meaning precise and curious and slowing it down, then all of a sudden that kind of hazy unconsciousness that is the feeling of mind identification and mind wandering, you kind of break that spell and all of a sudden thought's just not anything like you thought it was or like it seemed. It's not so solid, it's not so binding, it's totally fluid. It's not polarized in the way you think it is. It doesn't have a fixed polarity. And all of that is accessible through various forms of inquiry. The one you're describing is great. This method I think
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, it just it made me really experience, not know, but experience the fact that these thoughts are flowing, but they have no context. They don't actually describe experience. They don't actually I don't know how to put it into words, but they just don't have value
Hmm.
to the raw experience of what was happening. And it was just they were just passing by. Just like if I heard a bird, it doesn't relate to the feeling in my body. Like it's all just one happening. And I did have a question that I was wondering regarding like the one-pointed approach.
Hmm.
And there's different like you mentioned the fetters. Like there's different ways to go in to find and I think like all of these different ways are so beautiful and helpful because just like with with school like you can have different teachers explain a math concept, but there's that one teacher that just says it in just the right way and it's like, oh my, that makes so much sense.
Mm.
Why didn't the other teacher explain it that way? Like it
Yeah.
just it's beautiful that there's a way to go for everybody. And so one of the approaches, like the one that worked for me the most was the one that you suggest about going thoughts first, like thought identification. And that really worked for me because that was like a very sticking point. And I've heard of other one-pointed approaches where they would go to no self first, like try to dissolve the sense of self. And I've wondered about that because even with the even with the no self when I was going experiencing that, the ego grasped onto no self really quickly because it was just trying to I wondered if someone was to do no self first, like that would be their path, but they hadn't questioned the thoughts. Wouldn't then the dissolving of the self then solidify mind identification and now the ego would then be because if there's no sense of self and the ego's tendency is to grasp onto something, wouldn't more mind identification occur?
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think that is that approach or that way of approaching things like just go directly for the self structure. I think it's not tenable and for various reasons. One just being the self structure is so damn subtle that without other shifts before you're going to think you're questioning the self. You're not really, or all kinds of different things can happen. But what you said is true that some kind of co-opting is going to occur. Like the ego will identify. The ego is so freaking sneaky and it's so tenacious in some way that without those other perceptual filters addressed, reactivity, duality, the experience of thought and identifying with thought, if you haven't addressed those, the ego gets so sneaky. You might have yourself convinced of no self, and it's a belief, and maybe even a belief with some dissociation. So the other thing that happens with that is some people are really drawn to that because dissociation is their main coping mechanism. And you can like dissociate yourself into an experience that feels like no self. It feels like what you think no self should feel like. It's not no self,
Mhm.
but it's not anatta, meaning clear, non-dual, intimate clarity, no emphasis on self or no self. That's anatta. But no self as a dissociated experience of just like nothingness, that's not what we're talking about. So that's one potential downfall. But the others are just the things we were talking about. It's just too subtle. And so, yeah, I wouldn't teach that way because I think you're just going to confuse people and they're going to confuse
That's right.
themselves.
Yeah, because I've come across that. I've come across that path of going to no self first, and for some reason that didn't. I couldn't see how the coping mechanisms and the shadow material and the ego how that wouldn't co-opt that so quickly.
Yeah.
And because it's so sneaky, it's so subtle
Hmm.
that the
Yep.
the ego trying to convince itself that it doesn't exist.
Hmm. Totally. And it can. It
Yeah,
can convince, it can
yeah,
whisper anything in your ear.
that's
And
right.
you
That's
think
right.
its voice is your voice. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's sneaky.
I think. I think I told you like the way that it feels like it's like so at the beginning when we're talking about no self, sometimes the idea of Santa Claus comes up, but it's not it's more convoluted than just believing or knowing that Santa Claus doesn't exist. It's the fictional concept of Santa Claus, the idea of the fictional concept of Santa Claus sitting there convincing himself that he doesn't exist.
Hmm. Yep.
That's the ego.
Yeah.
And but then as soon as you as Santa Claus starts to think of itself even as a non-entity, it's creating a self.
Exactly. That's right.
And it's it's
Sneaky.
absurd. It's
It is.
absurd and sneaky. Yeah, it's
It
absurd
is
and
absurd,
sneaky.
and it's why,
It's wild.
like the ego. Let's call it the ego. Let's call it pain body. Whatever it is, the tenacious nature of dividing consciousness that is shared among humans. That's been around for longer than you and I, of course, and it's been around for tens, probably hundreds of thousands of years in some form or another. And it can go dormant and it can activate and it knows us really well. It knows our triggers, it knows our fears. And so it lives collectively. So it's sneaky, right? That's how you turn a that's how you turn one person's deep, clear insight into a religion. And that religion becomes something that has nothing to do with what that person realized. Like Christianity is a really good example of it. So a lot of
Mhm.
Buddhism is a good example of that. So yeah, it's that's why I say never underestimate the forces of delusion. The power of delusion. It's powerful. It's not as powerful as reality, but it's powerful. And it's also why I think in some sense, at some point, you have to be willing to give everything to this. That's another thing I think not everyone wants to hear. It's like you
Mhm.
have to be willing to give everything to this because otherwise you will fool yourself at some point. The Bodhisattva vows greed, hatred, and ignorance rise endlessly. I vow to abandon them. They rise endlessly. They keep coming. It's tenacious, and it's because it's co-opted and tied into survival instincts. But it's not. It's not just physical survival. That's not what this is. This is a replicated sense of personhood that thinks it's separate from everything and really tries to survive. So yeah, that you have to realize that has a lot of fuel and momentum behind it and experience and so forth. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and there's this feeling of this is how I've always functioned in the world. So there's the doubts and the fears that come up. Well, and the mind just wants to understand.
Hmm.
But how will I function without all
That's
of
right.
this? And that's where the trust comes in is you don't know
Yeah.
how you're going to function. And you don't need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. That it's
You don't need to know.
you don't need to know. This is comes to, and this strangely this actually does come down to faith in one way of speaking about faith, that faith in not some paradigm or some entity, but not even a process, really. Faith that what you just said is true, that you can actually let go, that you can actually trust, you can trust life at some, it's okay. You can let go of
Mhm.
all of the things you think that have been holding you together and you've had to, all the things you think you've had to hold on to preserve yourself and your identity and your ego structures and what you think you need and want and all that. You can actually let go of all that. And it's a leap of faith for sure. It's several leaps of faith, probably.
It is it because you literally are destroying the concept of everything that you've created and how life is and you in the world and it yeah you lose everything, you lose yourself, you lose that
Mhm.
world, but it wasn't there to begin with.
Exactly.
But it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's like the like Christmas, right? Like if people put Christmas trees in their house, like if you took away the religious symbolism, if aliens saw us taking a perfectly healthy tree outside and putting it in our living room, that's kind of weird.
Mm.
And then you keep the tree in for for however long, and then you take the tree out. There's about 2 days after that room feels empty.
Mm.
There's like because there's a Christmas tree in the living room, but the tree doesn't belong there. Like you don't, the tree doesn't belong next to your sofa. So and I felt like that's how it is too. Like it feels like you're losing something, but it never was there. Like it
Mhm.
never belonged.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
that illusion, but it does that feeling of loss.
That's a really, really good point because there is this grief mass that comes with aspects of this process. And sometimes you kind of feel like you know what you're grieving, and sometimes you really just don't even know what you're grieving, but you feel it. There's grief, and I think it's exactly what you're talking about. You're grieving the absence of something that never was, but you had banked on it somehow. But even the banking on it was causing you suffering, and you know it, but still the feeling of loss can kind of be there for a while. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And the reframing of it too, because there were moments that when I was chasing no self, like there were moments where that was like a goal, and the letting go of it actually was it seemed like relief. But even then, you're still acknowledging, you're still solidifying a sense of self that you want to get rid of. So
Hmm.
it needed to have slowed down, but it felt like so in childhood, it felt like the mechanism of humanhood was like a program, like a computer program. And if there was disruption in childhood, if there was trauma there, then all of the personality structures, the coping mechanisms were all programmed into this faulty main program, because if there was trauma there, then there was a virus in the coding. So there was this idea that, oh, if I chase no self, then I could erase, because I wanted to like not be, I want the same coping mechanisms. I didn't want the personality that I had, because they were all based on bad coding. The
Hmm.
program was faulty, and those were coded outside of that bad virus that was the childhood.
Hmm.
And it was just a seeing through all of those mechanisms that they were just yeah, it was like programming that
Hmm.
was being believed, and it was, yeah, it was slowing everything down, and you do, and once you erase that, it's, yeah, you get back to that pure state of like birth, or
Hmm.
childlike innocence.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and spontaneity, realizing you can trust spontaneity,
Yes.
you can trust the moment. You can trust the moment, not just when you're meditating, but when you're walking. You can trust it when you're interacting with other people. You can trust just spontaneity. And that's such a relief, ultimately. I mean, I don't know for sure because it's been a long time, but I'm sure there were times in my life where I would think, I'm pretty sure, I actually don't remember, but I think it was like this because I hear people talking like this. Like you're living this world where you're like you think it's like you're planning your life, even what you're going to say in the next minute and then what you said in the last minute. Like there's this constant analysis about what's happening as if there's a homunculus in you pulling the levers to make it happen or something. But you can live without that totally. And just like right now, it's clear that you and I are both this way right now. It's like the words just come. I don't know why I'm saying it. I have no plan. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter how it comes across, any of it. It's just like this is just what feels totally relevant. This is what feels natural. This is what feels spontaneous. That's what I move from. And that's possible and it's available to anybody. It's not magical. It's not really even mystical. It's just simple. It's just natural. It's just reality doing what reality does. It's just appearing. And that's totally available to anybody.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the words just come, and things are, and it's just this flow of, and everything is flowing. Like
Hmm.
the sounds, the sensations, that everything is just they're like it. I'd have to think about sound being sound and separate that. But in the I can't, it's not experience, but in the beingness of it, it's
Hmm.
just one. Yeah, and what's funny is it's always there, but previously the mind, yeah, it keeps coming in and trying to label things when there's just no need. And
Hmm.
And yeah, that flow state, just things just happen. Like
Hmm.
you want to drink some water, you just pick up the glass. Like there isn't forethought of like, oh, in 15 minutes I'm going to, reach my hand this far and I'm going to drink this many ounces of water. Like it's
Yeah.
like you don't strategize that like in your calendar, right? So it's
Mm.
funny how you can have that flow state with everything.
Hmm. Yep.
But it's just that letting go of like and we're not holding on to anything. That's what's funny. Like
Yeah.
the image of like those like child amusement park rides where it's like this little car and the
Hmm.
steering wheel is useless.
Just spinning.
And it just and then but then there's like it's like that, what is it, the difference between correlation and causation, right? Like
Hmm.
the child could turn the steering wheel exactly at the same time that the car goes, and it's like it looks like there's causation, but it's useless.
Mm.
And there's one point you just kind of like, what would happen if I just let go for a little bit? Like, what would
Mm.
that be like? And
Mm.
but it's trust, like you said. You just trust to like let go of everything that we've so clung on to, and then we and
Hmm.
then and then we realized that we weren't really holding on to anything, but the
Yeah.
clenching felt so safe.
Hmm. Yeah. Clenching, clenches, clenching. Holding on, holds on to holding on. Resistance resists resistance. When we finally see that, it's like, oh God, I'm on both sides of this and I can just let go completely. Like there's nothing to resist and there's no one resisting it even. Both sides of those are empty. Um, the other thing I was going to say, since we're talking about spontaneity, is the challenge I do see people as they start to experience this kind of true spontaneity, um, is that the letting go into it doesn't happen like gradually always. It's like there'll be a letting go, and then there's like this massive grasping, and then there's like, oh, okay, and then their fingers start to pry off again, and they let go, and they're like, ah, and then there's like grasping again, and it's often emotional triggers or uh, un, uncomfortable situations that they're not familiar with. But I just want to say to anyone who's experiencing, like, it's okay that you experience it in spurts sometimes. Like the spontaneity is like that, where everything will feel spontaneous and flow, and then you find yourself like really in this kind of resistance pattern again. And just understand that it's not always a linear path, and it doesn't also just release all at once and never come back. It tends to be staccato for a while, and it'll calm down more and more. And the challenge I think that comes up for people often is that the spontaneity itself, it feels great when it's like things are just calm and steady and stable, like maybe if you're just meditating or sitting by yourself and there's no triggers. But we don't realize that the spontaneity actually it's infinitely adaptable. It can instantly change into intensity, and it can instantly change into relaxation, and it can instantly change into dynamism, and it can instantly change or almost instantly into deep peace and relaxation. And it takes a while to really trust those transitional moments in life, and realize like, oh, okay, this can happen. But if the mind gets a hold of it, it's like, oh God, like if you've been sitting maybe in deep meditation, the mind's like, oh God, what if I never can move again? What if I can never function again? It just tells you these horror stories. Or if there's like dynamism going on, and the mind's like, you're gonna burn out. It's too much. This is gonna kill you. You need to go meditate. It's like realizing that, wait a minute, the spontaneity actually accommodates everything, and just trusting, like as you said, slowing down at least in terms of what your attention's doing, and just feeling into what's happening, seeing what's happening, trusting what's happening. It really takes care of itself.
Yeah, you made a really good point about the spontaneity being at the beginning, fluctuating sometimes, and how it is easier in moments of calm
Hmm.
to be in that flow state, and then um, and then yeah, if there's something that feels uncomfortable, that there's that tendency to just kind of retract, and that's
Hmm.
okay too. Yeah, I agree with you that it's not linear. It's almost like a roller coaster. It goes down, but it goes down in order to get the momentum to go up. And I feel like that up and down, whatever it was that went down that you contracted, look at that, because that's going to be the fire and the fuel to help the flow. Because
Yep.
when you look at that, then it just it's that one, okay, that's that one finger that's going to let go more. And so the contraction is actually beautiful because it shows you what's holding on, and then the next time the contraction won't hold on as much. So it's it's your greatest teacher, the those moments of contraction. It's but yeah, the mind feels like, oh, I lost it, and
Mm.
oh, I'm regressing, and but it's all part of the flow of
Hmm.
everything. Even like, the idea of like everything is Buddha nature, even the frustration
Hmm. Hmm.
is all beautifully part of the flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Pay attention. Pay attention. And the contrast is valuable for sure. There's a learning in that contrast that just something just understands like, oh, okay, when things are shifting, when things are changing, and when there's, say, tension or when there's intense sensations, that doesn't have to turn into a dissociated process. It can just be intensity. It can just be profound sensation. It can just be transformative energy, which can even feel like fear. All of that's okay. Totally okay. None of it's a problem.
That's right. Yeah. And it's and the slowing down thing of slowing it down is like, okay, what if we're not talking about forever? What if for just 1 second I would rest in this? What if for 1 second I'm okay with this?
Mm,
What if for 1 second I don't have an opinion about this?
mm,
For 1 second, can I just sit with this feeling?
mm. Yeah.
And it just, yeah, just slowing it down to the just for 1 second, can I just let go of the
Mm,
idea of having to do anything about this?
mm.
What would that be like?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives you an experiment that's doable for anybody.
Yeah. One
Doesn't
second.
matter how intense or solid your story is. You can always try an experiment of can you for 1 minute just consider that you don't have to grab another thought. 1 minute, one
Yeah.
second.
1 second. Yeah. 1 second.
Mm,
And then maybe 3 seconds.
mhm,
You can, don't worry about after, just right now, just 1 second.
mm, mm.
Yeah. Don't do anything. Just be. It's the only thing on your to-do list. Just
Yeah.
be. Just be. Exist. Check.
10 a.m. B. Check.
Be.
11 a.m.
Check.
B.
Yeah.
Check.
That's right.
I love that.
That's it. That's all you have to do. Just be.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. It's so simple, and yet the mind just complicates things, and you look back and it's so funny. It's
Hmm.
yeah, and then things that that I've heard like through, spiritual, whatever. It has such a different meaning. Even though because before it was heard intellectually,
Hmm.
and then once you experience it, feel it,
Hmm.
it's lived, and I think that the going into the body, I think that's where the gold is, I think,
Hmm.
because the
I
the
agree with
the,
it. I
the
was gonna say I agree with
pointings.
reading doctrine or like, whatever. Like some of it used to just boggle my mind, and I didn't spend tons of time trying to understand it. I'd read it and be like, nope, don't get it. But I felt like there had to be something there, like the Tao Te Ching when I was before awakening, when I was in my early 20s or whatever. I had a copy of it, and I just like I couldn't, not a damn sentence in that thing made sense. Like my mind was so solid, and yet there's some strong urge to like penetrate it somehow. So I just put it down and pick it up every once in a while, and I'd be like, nope, don't get it. But now it's funny if I read it, it's like every single sentence is completely obvious. It's so obvious. It's like more obvious than if I follow Google Maps, like street after street and turn left and turn right. Like it's more real than that. It's like this clarity is so obvious. And I see that in the suttas or various pointers, especially from people who are very clear. It's like, oh yeah, what they're saying is more real than what we take to be physical reality, what we take to be time and space. It's that clear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so obvious. Like reading it, but it's like it. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense, and there are things in there that uh, things that I didn't even know that you could put into words, because you really can't. But there's experiences there that I didn't even know that I've experienced, that but yeah, it didn't make sense after. And then now I read it, it's like, is this a different version of the book that I'm getting now? Because it's yeah, if you experience it differently, but it's so obvious. It's so
Yeah.
obvious. Why was it so difficult to?
Hmm.
Why does the human brain complicate things so much?
Having
Yeah.
made videos for 5 years now or whatever it's been, and daily for a few years, I have the privilege of seeing people respond over time. And a common one is people will say, 2 years ago I'd watch your videos and I really did not understand it, but I kept listening. They're like, now almost everything you say makes sense. It's so obvious. It's really funny to me. The funnier version of that though is people go, "Oh, you're so much more clear than you were a year ago." And I'm like, "Oh, I am, huh?" Okay. It's like you must have had a shift. I'm like, okay. It's,
That's
but
hilarious.
there is something about, I don't even know what to call it, resonance, but whatever, where all of a sudden it's like a whole other pathway illuminates itself. Like it's instead of the pathway of thought, it's just the pathway of intuition, of reality. Reality just illuminates itself, and it's like, wow, how did I overlook this for so long? Crazy, but here it is, um,
Yeah.
and then it's just like it's a treasure chest. Yeah, there's challenging parts to it, and there's also dimensions that are beyond anything you could have ever imagined as far as clarity and sacredness and peace. Yeah.
Yeah, and everything makes sense in a non-intellectual way. Like it's just there's this it just makes sense. Like everything just yeah.
Hmm.
And there's a yes to it. I found like that was it. The when you're listening or there's transmission and I'm hearing there just is a spark of yes, yes, yes. I don't know what is in this. Like I don't understand it intellectually, but just something in me is lighting up.
Mm.
Like there's a yes here.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
that I don't know if it's intuition or if but it was there was just something so alive,
Hmm.
like this
Beautiful.
creative life energy
Hmm.
that was getting touched into like a yeah.
And now, do you find that creative life energy like what reality is made out of?
It's insane. It's so beautiful. Like like it's love. Like that's how
Hmm.
I describe like in unconditional love, like the love of a mother to a newborn child. It's that love that you feel like your heart's gonna explode. Like it's
Hmm.
everything just vibrates with that creativity of
Hmm.
love and life and creation.
Hmm.
The moment to moment. And I don't and I'm exploding with it. It's so
Hmm.
alive. It's so beautiful. Like
Hmm.
everything, even uncomfortable experiences. It's
Yeah.
just it's fascinating and curious and
Hmm.
everything is just a wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like how you said uncomfortable experiences because I find that even I don't have them too often anymore, but there can be times where something's uncomfortable, um, and more than just like, I mean, there's things that are like tasteful and distasteful. So certain foods I could put in my mouth that just don't taste good, and then certain ones that taste good. Those things don't necessarily change too much, preferences and so forth. But I mean, something that just feels like there's a little bit of resistance or a little bit of discomfort in an experience. But the funny thing now is, if that happens, it's like, oh man, I'm like glad it happened. There's a joy that like, oh, there's some other dimension of freedom available here. Let's go see what it is. It's like it's very cool. Like the fact that I guess what I'm saying is what I used to consider the worst part of my experience, which was what I call my suffering or the sense that something was off or wrong, that was seen at some point and it continues to be seen to be the best thing that ever happened to me for sure. And so now that it's essentially gone, any subtle residue of it is fascinating now. And the residues now are more in other people. Like that's the work I do. I find it in others and kind of remember, oh, that's what that is. Yeah, now I remember that. But the point is that I'm making is that the suffering itself, even though it feels like the worst part of your experience, the most accursed part of the thing you just want to get rid of, and you're trying to use awakening to get rid of, and that's fine that you're doing that because that's fine. That's what it's there for. But at some point, it doesn't look like that anymore. It looks like grace. It looks like the ultimate gift given to you, and that's crazy, but it's true. That's been my experience.
Yeah, I that was my experience too. The at the beginning, uncomfortable experiences were grace because they were showing up when they needed to, obviously. Like they were my greatest teachers to show me where I needed to look.
Mm,
And now on the other side, there's the fascination is the beauty of the expansive experience of just this human expression of being. Like
mm,
it's the uncomfortable, the comfortable, the everything. Like it's just fascinating.
mm,
The all of these experiences of this humanness, because there's an expression of humanness in this, and that was something that was interesting to integrate
mhm,
the human experience with the flow state
mhm,
because I think it's very common. I had the split, right? Like there's so much flow and when I was in meditation, and then there's that jarring, like, oh, now I'm in traffic and I'm human,
mm,
and then there's just this melding of it. And now all of the experiences, even if they're uncomfortable, it's fascinating. It's curious because it's just another flavor in
mm,
the human the human experience.
yeah. Yeah. That's been my experience as well. That interpenetration just gets more and more seamless, and it's hard to pick anything apart anymore at all. It's like so much intimacy and clarity. And so, what what people do if they want to get a hold of you, if they want to interact with you?
Sure. So I see clients now. So I have a website that they can book. I do 30-minute free sessions for anybody that wants to get in touch and see if it's a right fit. It's free, so they can contact me on my website. And I started putting on some videos on YouTube. I've had clients that wanted to, like I would say something during a session and they thought, oh, I'd really like to hear that again. So I
Hmm,
started that. So some new creative things that are happening, but the website would be the best way to get a hold of me.
cool. I
Yeah,
will link all of that in the description of this video, so if anyone wants to find it. But can you just say your website quickly?
sure. It's ravenrise.com.
Okay. Just like you would think. Ravenrise.
.com. That's right.
Perfect. Right on.
Perfect.
Anything else you want to say to anyone watching who's interested in waking up or moving through fear
Uh,
or other life challenges?
yeah, just slow things down, love yourself, have grace, like love the process. And if you meet everything just really with just love and compassion, the doubt thoughts, the thoughts of it being overwhelming, it's okay that they're there. But honestly, like trust your intuition. There's something pulling you to this. You'll be okay. You really are. There's so many people that have like experienced this. There's you'll be okay. Just trust it, and it's okay to let go.
Hmm. Beautiful. Great summary of our
Yeah.
conversation, too. Well, it's been a pleasure. I
Oh,
knew we were going to
thank
have a good
you.
conversation, but I was very delighted as we were talking. People are going to get a lot out of this. I already know that. So,
Thank you
yeah.
so much, Angela. It's such a pleasure to meet with you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for your time and energy and your delightful descriptions and clarity. It's been just so clear, precise, and supportive and sweet. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Angelo. It's wonderful.